We were talking about Mr. Richard Dawkins there as you went out, talking about his ideas about how there could be the creation of the world without a creator, so to speak. Now, that's kind of some new thoughts from him. We heard some new thoughts even maybe from what Hawkins was saying earlier. Are there other new thoughts coming out about the existence of God from science that actually kind of favors our opinion of that situation?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned in a previous episode, the whole idea of, proving God from science or getting evidence for God from science was really not known by St. Thomas Aquinas or by Aristotle, because they assumed that it might be possible for the universe to be eternal, although they believed, Aquinas believed, that it was factually not eternal. He thought since it was possible, you really couldn't get, physical or scientific evidence for God or a creator. However, that all changed with Monsignor Georges Lemaitre in 1927, because Father Lemaitre, a Belgian priest, discovered the Big Bang Theory, and since that time we have really validated the Big Bang Theory, which shows that our universe had its origins about 13.8 billion years ago, plus or minus 100 million years, and prior to that time, it is possible that that was a real, actual beginning of the universe. And prior to that beginning, 13.8 billion years ago, the whole universe, and maybe the whole of physical reality, which is the whole universe, was nothing. And if it was nothing, then as I said before, you're going to have something outside of the universe, some transcendent cause outside of the universe to move the universe from nothing to something, at which point you're going to need a creator, a transcendent creator. Now, if that's the case, then, all of a sudden we're at a whole new point in the history of science, right? Because now it looks like there could actually be evidence for a creator. Now, since that time, of course, there are several possibilities that people sort of generated to try and get out of this. But the real fact that we know is that the universe came, as we know it, came into existence 13.8 billion years ago. Now, what are some of these other possibilities that some physicists have used to try and extend the age of the universe backward more than 13.8 billion years? The first one, of course, was the oscillating universe, and that was a very popular theory even back in the days of Einstein and Lemaitre. So that would be, for example, the universe expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. But as we'll see in a moment, that particular hypothesis, and the bouncing universe or the oscillating universe is just a hypothesis. But there are several things that really militate against that hypothesis. But hold on for a moment. There's another very popular view these days called a multiverse, which is like a mega universe. And the mega universe, again, completely hypothetical. We don't know whether there's a multiverse out there, but the multiverse would have, lots and lots, it'd be generating lots of little bubble universes, and all those bubble universes, among them would be our universe. It would be one bubble universe. Our universe would be one bubble universe amidst trillions and trillions and trillions of other bubble universes. Now, that's another hypothetical possibility. But as we'll see in a moment, there's a thing called the Borda-Vilenkin-Guth proof, which actually shows that that would probably have to have a beginning too, and I'll explain that in a moment. There's another theorem, that I'll just call it for the, sake of higher dimensional space universes, right? That this would be kind of like a, in string theory, in M theory, which is an 11-dimensional configuration string theory, right? In M theory, you really have the possibility of having higher dimensional space, and in that higher dimensional space, you can come up with some really exotic theories, right? Like 2-3-dimensional membranes, and sandwiched between them is a 4-dimensional bulk space-time, and the membranes are colliding and producing other universes. So you've got these other possibilities that have been, thought of that might extend, the physical reality's existence back before 13.8 billion years. But here's the deal. Three pieces of evidence, or actually two pieces of evidence in particular, the theory of entropy and also the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof, both of them seem to suggest strongly that a multiverse is going to have a beginning. And that honestly, too, a higher dimensional string universe is going to have a beginning. Even, Borda and Vilenkin consider that possibility specifically, and that all bouncing universes, right, are also going to have a beginning. So even these three hypothetical configurations, because of the evidence of the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof and the entropy evidence, seem to suggest that all of them would also have a beginning, which means that physical reality, even if there were a multiverse, even if there were a higher dimensional space string universe, even if there were a bouncing universe, they too would have a beginning. So we're not going to get out of that problem. So now I'll just give you a quick explanation of the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof. Essentially, it works because of one condition only. If any universe or multiverse has an average Hubble expansion greater than 0, that means the rate of expansion of the universe or the multiverse as a whole is greater than 0, then that configuration, multiverse, universe, it's going to have a beginning. And there's a very good reason for that. And you can go to my website, magiscenter.com, and just go to the Faith and Science page where I explain all 6 steps of the proof very, very clearly to you. But right now, I'll just tell you what Alexander Vilenkin kind of concluded, at the end of explicating this proof, the Borda-Vilenkin Guth proof of 2003, along with the entropy evidence. He kind of sums it up this way. It is said that a good argument will convince a reasonable person, and that a proof will convince even an unreasonable one. Well, now that the proof is in place, that's the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof in conjunction with the entropy evidence. Now that the proof is in place, scientists can no longer can consider the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They must confront the reality of a beginning. So that's a beginning of a multiverse, a beginning of a inflationary universe, the beginning of our universe, the beginning of higher dimensional space universe and string theory, the beginning of a bouncing universe. Every one of those configurations, scientists aren't going to be able to avoid a beginning. And that is why so much ink is being spent on Larry's question, namely the whole area of something coming from nothing.
Right.
I mean, why is Hawking talking about this? Why are all these? Because they really have to. They have some splaining to do,
and they're trying to figure out a way to explain it.
If there really is an
exactly.
Yeah, if there really
well, Father,
is an unavoidable beginning to physical reality.
If we go any deeper into this on this particular program, it's going to take us 2 hours to get back up. I think the best places goes to magiscenter.com and get some additional information on this. You mentioned so many different theories and things, but I guess the bottom line message is they're all trying to show how there's not a beginning or a prime mover, and the reality is all of these proofs are showing that there is in fact a prime mover, right?
Yeah, and it's scientific evidence that shows that there is in fact a beginning, and that beginning implies a creator. That's correct.